All righty, there we go. We're live in both places. This is Andy Kennedy. Hey, happy Monday, everybody. This is day 29 of 60 days on the topic of toxic truths. And today is day one of our 2-week focus on mindset. And I'm super excited for these 2 weeks because it's a little bit different than everything else. Toxic truths. I've been talking about nutrition for 2 weeks, and then I talked about the body and the epidermis for 2 weeks, and talking more about chemicals and flushing and your liver and foods that heal and stuff. And now we're going to focus on the brain. And that may not feel like a toxic truth at first, but some of the things that we're going to be talking about for these next 2 weeks, for instance, and I'll get into my story in a sec, but I want to just cover this too. Toxic thought patterns, limiting beliefs, emotional stress, where it's stored in the body, because that's going to be a really fun one for me. I love talking about the energetic fields. So we're going to talk a little bit about the emotional layer of our aura and where we store things. And Louise Hay, and anyway, I won't get hung up there. That one is this Thursday. Control dramas, which comes from my course, meditation, and what that can do in the body, heart math, negative news, constant negative news. CNN is what CNN stands for, if you didn't know. Happy environment, so music, your home, and stress in general, relationships. So, ancestor stories, and then sleep. So lots of things there to talk about when it comes to mindset. And my particular story when it comes to mindset, I was trying to just remember when I really started focusing on mindset. And it's been a long time. I have 3 courses online now based around mindset, and also a lot of other things. But mindset is kind of the core of the work that I do, because I believe that 90 to 95% of your reality is created in your mind. And so if we start with the mind and start with that health, then everything else starts to fall into place, because our mind, we get our head right, right? You get your mind right, you get your mind right around positivity and personal health, relationships, boundaries, stating your truth, speaking your truth. And not to say, do I still get tripped up? Absolutely. Our work here is never done. This is the school of life. So, my big focus is, as Tony Robbins calls it, your emotional home. One of my big emotional home focuses is worry, and really calming the mind when it comes to worrying about whatever I can wrap my head around, right? I that's my emotional home. So that's where I go first. And um, patience, that's a lifelong lesson for me, for sure. Um, Control, right? That's a lifelong lesson for me. And so we all have those kind of foundations for our work, right? And our shadow work, we call it. And for me, I think I really started focusing on mindset um, when I first got to Steamboat, I feel like. So that was almost 30 years ago, to over 20, about 25 years ago. I started focusing on, and was influenced by, actually, someone that was really helpful for me. But I started studying crystal healing. And I really think that kickstarted me into understanding that I controlled my reality. Yes, I have all of these tools. We all have all of these tools, healing through nature, and and all the gifts that we are given here on planet Earth. But um, none of that is going to be 100% helpful until we get our head right, our mind right, and start clearing out some of our limiting beliefs. So excited to start unpacking some of that with you guys, because I probably should have started with this, but it was the most logical, and I feel like the most immediately helpful for people to talk about nutrition, because some of those are really easy, low-hanging fruit. Same with everything else. Like yesterday, I was just talking about nail polish. That one's a really easy, low-hanging fruit. We all get tripped up in the materialistic programs of society, and we're like, oh, I have to do my nails. My nails have to look great for me to feel great, right? And it didn't used to be that we could find toxic free nail polish. Just like with gluten-free, 10, 15 years ago, it was so hard to buy gluten-free, and now we can. So, we're living in a world where it's changing towards that ease of cutting out some of these toxins, but they're all around us. The mind, though, the mind is harder because it's all internal, and catching yourself, um, with the mind and with the negative speak is maybe one of the hardest things to far hardest habits, I should say, to break. So, one of my tips, and I'll unpack this a little bit more in the resources in our Facebook group today. One of my tips is just observing the mind and spending your first week just focusing on listening to the mind and listening to what it does, what it says. Last month in February, in our personal growth book club that we're in, so that's a whole nother group, super fun reading books together. And so we have a different book every month. And last month's book was called Positive Intelligence, where we learn about the archetypes that are talking constantly in our mind, like the stickler, the victim, um, the control, hypervigilant, and there are 8 of those. And then there's the judge, which is like the champion on your shoulder, constantly saying, "That's not right. This isn't right." The house of perfectionism lives inside that internal judge. And um, in that work that we did last month, what I loved was I was like, this is bringing up that basic technique that I teach everyone at the very beginning of my work with you when we work together, whether it's taking a class with me or one-on-one. And that basic work is just listening. So for a week, set a reminder on your phone and listen to that reminder every every time it pops up. Put it on your phone twice a day, 3 times a day, and every time it pops up, all you want that reminder to say is, "What am I thinking right now?" And when it pops up and you're thinking something like, "This isn't right," or "I can't do this," or any kind of negative statement, write it down. And after the week, start to see what your patterns are. And you'll pull up those limiting beliefs. And I'll unpack this a little bit more when we talk about limiting beliefs and control dramas as well. But that is the simplest way for me to keep my mind on point, is to just do that reminder. And for a week, watch my mind. And then at the end of the week, you switch it and you start programming in some affirmations, programming in some positive, statements, mantras for yourself to reprogram that, because 80% of our mind, 80% of our thoughts, I should say, are negative. And so if that's what's filling our mind are these negative statements every day, all day, then of course that creates sort of a negative reality, right? Pessimistic, um, everything, if it's not one thing, like statements like, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? Versus everything happens for a reason. Okay. So see how those two are so different, and how they can create different realities for you. So I want to promote today's resource is my free 21-day journey to affirmations, with affirmations. And I give you 3 affirmations a day. And you do that trick of focusing on your mind for the first week and hearing and listening to what the mind says. All you need to do is go to andykennedyco.com. So that's just my name, Andy with a Y, Kennedy, 2 N's, EDY, CO, for company or color. I lived in Colorado.com. So if you go there and you sign up for our mailing list, you get that 21 days for free. Again, I'll put that in the Facebook group. I'll put that in the link below as well, in the comments, below as well. But sign up for our mailing list if you haven't. We don't blast you a ton. You get that 21-day affirmations for free. And start listening to the brain over these next 2 weeks with me, just gently, non-judgmental, just what is the brain doing? What is it doing today? And seeing where some of those programs we pick up come from. They come from our parents, they come from society, they come from the television. So when we talk about constant negative news, we'll talk about maybe some other ways to get news and not such negative news all the time, because that definitely affects our mental state too. So And of course, that trickles into everything. That trickles into our relationships. It trickles into our sleep patterns. It trickles into work, and stress, and bringing all of that stuff home with you. So that's our first day on mindset. I ran a little longer than usual. I'm trying to keep these between 5 and 7 minutes. But of course, when I'm introing a new topic, it trickles into 10 minutes. So thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. And over the next 2 weeks, we'll be talking about mindset on 60 days of toxic truths. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.